Hey there, I'm Al Petteway, and I'm the guy you see doing some of these Dream Guitars demos on a fairly regular basis. We took a little break for a while, but this is one of my homes away from home, so to speak. I come here a couple times a week sometimes and get to play some of the best guitars in the world. But one of the things people keep asking me over and over is how do you go in there and decide what to play when you pick up a guitar? What do you do? I mean, you can't play just the same song, and I say, well, I did that for several years, and no one seemed to complain. But no, it is funny. There is a certain song that I play on a lot of demos. It goes like this. And that kind of sound is good for, I would say, 95% of all the steel string guitars I've played. And so what we decided to do is get a tune like that and play it so that people could compare the sound of each guitar. If I had a certain kind of guitar, they could go compare the same guitar. Not only would they hear the same picker, but they'd hear the same strings in the same song. But as time went on, we decided to mix it up a little. So what I do now is as soon as I pick up a guitar like this one, which is one of my favorite builders, actually, I guess I can say that, right? It's Brian Gallup. And when you pick up a guitar like this, one of the first things you notice is that the frets don't look right. And that's kind of like, it's not that it's a problem because now people are getting used to it, but for an old guy like me, you know, and you look down at that and you realize that these things are different spacing here than they are here. What that means is it's set up in a multi-scale. The scale on the high string is shorter than the scale on the low string. So that immediately keys my brain to say, oh, dadgad, or something like that. So even though it's going to sound great in standard, it's also going to maintain the tension in dadgad. So I'll tune it down. And it could be just drop D, but now, if I'm in dadgad or standard or any tuning, really, I mean, I can be in C tuning, I can be in any number of tunings. The first thing I do is usually just strum the guitar and hear what it sounds like. If I'm tuned down, I generally want to play a song that uses this open string, because then why would I tune down if I wasn't going to? So sometimes I'll play a song that I've already written, little bits of it or something. Normally my tunes are too long for one demo, so I'll just edit in my head. I'll play maybe the A section and the B section, and if there's a C section and I have time, I might do that and go back to the A section and end, whereas on the recording, it may be a lot longer than that. The other thing I do, which I've had more fun with probably in the last year or so, than ever before, is I'll approach the guitar with an open mind and I'll listen to it. And as I'm thinking about it, I play a couple of things on it and I'll take ideas I have. I have at any given time, and this is true with all of you guitar players out there, you have little snatches of ideas. You don't have a whole tune yet, you've just got a little idea. I'll take these ideas and just start playing them and then see what happens. Where will they go? And for me, not only is that kind of a neat way to explore a guitar and find out what it does, but it's also for me a lot more fun than playing the exact same song every time. So for me, that's sort of a way for me to enjoy the guitar more and also enjoy the experience more. And I would suggest anybody out there who wants to write their own material, that's a good way to do it. If you can't remember these things in your head, record them on your phone or whatever recording device you have. Record the idea, keep them in a way that you can go back and listen. It could be you just have one idea that's all you have. And you say, I like the way that sounds, so I'm going to go use that in a tune, but I don't know when or where. In my case, if that's one of my little things, I might be doing a song. That might be the end of it. Or it could start with that. And then I could just do a little improvisation. And I have certain licks, I guess you would say, almost licks, really what I play during these improvisations are scales. I'll pick a scale. In this case, I just was in a minor key. Pick a minor scale, and I'll play a little intro in that scale using harmonics, using notes that go maybe all the way to the 12th fret. I'll listen for the reverb in a guitar, natural reverb. You can hear that. And I'll find notes that kind of kick it out a little bit louder, and so then and see if I stop that string, you'll hear that the guitar is making its own reverb. So that's usually, you'll hear me do that at the beginning of a tune where I'm trying to sound the guitar out. And then from that point, I've got a few options. If I played in minor, I'll come up with something minor. And I might just start with a lick that I know, like I just did a second ago. And then build from that, maybe the second. These are just little scales that I've learned that are in these keys. Then, you know, if I decide that's my key, then maybe I'll go to the 4 chord, G. And from there, I can go to the 5 or the minor 5. But really, I go, I mean, let's say it wouldn't be that one, it would be. And that brings me back to the 1. So these are ways that I play through chord changes that I know, so I don't get too lost. If I make a mistake, like I did just a second ago, where I played this, I mean that or this, I wanted to go, but I went, that's what I played. I like that change too, and it might change my mind as to what I'm going to do, you know. And that's the beauty of this whole technique, if you want to call it that, is if I make a little mistake, I treat it as a way to get me to another chord that I wasn't planning to play. And that gets exciting. So instead of, I might go, who knows? Just playing with chromatic lines can make it really interesting. And eventually you'll get back to one of the notes of the scale, usually within a half step, and that'll let you go from there. So I kind of, you'll see me a lot of times kind of chuckle to myself, and that's usually when something like that's happening, where I'm playing a little idea, I screw up, so I just go with it and see what happens. Or I'm playing a song that I thought was, let me go back to standard. Greg, who does a lot of videos, and Connor I'm not sure about, but I know Greg is a big Beatles fan. And so we a lot of times talk about Beatles in between tracks. So one time we were sitting here and I thought, well, I'll just start playing and see what comes out. And we'd just been talking about, I guess I'd showed him how to play Blackbird. And so it was kind of on my mind. So what I did is I started the sample as if I was going to play Blackbird, but it turned it going the other direction all of a sudden. So it went. And now I've got a whole new tune. And it has the same feeling as Blackbird, but it's not. So there's no, like, Paul McCartney's not going to come rapping on our door and saying, I want my money, you know. Where can I go from here? Well, I can keep going down. And I could go to the F. Or that gives me a lot of places I can go. So and what I decided was I'd throw something out of a different Beatles tune. I think it's Yesterday. Those chords all of a sudden, and then that made me think of another Beatles tune. Whoops. You probably know what song that is just by those two chords. But so that whole thing ended up sounding like this. And all this time I'm kind of thinking, okay, where am I going to go now? You know, it's like, this time I go down, and then, oh yeah, I could do this. Now, right there, I'm thinking, what song do I know by the Beatles that has that kind of sound? Well, this is my obvious choice. And so those are little pieces. I didn't do that, but I did one time when we were doing this. I ended with that little lick. And at that point, I've changed the key too. But that just gives you a little taste of the way my brain kind of works when I'm sitting here and Greg's sitting there and Connor's over here to do it. You know, all this going on. A lot of times, rather than be nervous about it or just like think, well, I got to play and not make mistakes, I'll just start playing and see what happens. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, usually one of them will tell me. But normally I know. And then the other option on certain guitars, this one is such a rich guitar, I would probably keep it down low. But a lot of the guitars, if they don't have that big bottom or something, I might opt for more of a ragtime thing or more, you know. Now that right there is in a million songs. So I'll just start playing a pattern like that. And it might be E, it might be C, or G. And what it is, I have a lot of little scales and licks in those styles that I can just intermingle whenever I want and come up with something that's not quite one of the tunes I've recorded, but similar. And then other times we'll actually decide to do a song that I recorded. And that's, of course, the easiest one, except for that I have to try to remember it then, which is, for my brain, isn't always the easiest thing. Anyway, that's a rough idea of how things are started here. It starts with the guitar. We listen to it. We decide, oh, that one would sound great as a ragtime guitar, especially if it's a little guitar. The bigger guitars almost always get the treatment of either low tuning or that tune that I played, Crossing. And that's just a good starting point. And then the in-between sides, I tend to like to do the more countrified things, you know, in E or in G. So, yeah, I have certain licks that just get thrown in. That's just a lick I can throw in anywhere. Or this. That I messed up, but you get the idea. There's certain licks I can just throw in. They don't have to be part of a tune. They're just something they might be out of another tune. So they're just all floating around up in this bunch of curls, and they just come out whenever I need them. And that happens too if you're playing with, you'll see if you ever jam with people, that's kind of what happens when you jam. If you don't know the song, you say, oh, well, I've heard that chord change before, and I know this thing that'll work with it. That's how you do it. So I hope that helps some people understand my screwed up little brain here, but I just wanted to give you an idea. And maybe at home, if you want to just play along with people's records that you don't know the song, you don't know anything, this would be a good way to do it. Just say, oh, well, okay, I've learned these 3 chords of that song. So that gives me a starting point. Now, what licks or what scales do I know that are in that key, you know? And then you can play along that way. That's the way I learned ever since I was 10 years old, you know, is just playing along with other people. So try it out, see if you like it. If not, you can go back to reading the tab and playing things exactly like that. But that's just, my brain just doesn't work that way. So that's why they're stuck with me doing weird things. Thanks a lot, and come back and see us more often. Bye.